This is the No More OGs podcast. From controversial topics to creating financial freedom, we will talk to real people about real situations, providing real solutions. No celebrity endorsements. Bringing you unfiltered discussions, dope interviews, and giving you the blueprint to create the culture that you will be proud of. So kick back, turn up the volume, and let's get to it. Here's your host, yours truly, Mr. Purpose on Demand, Mr. Retired at 37, Mr. Tim Jackson. What's going on? It's your man, Tim Jackson. This is the No More OGs podcast. I'm your host, and I want to thank you so much for joining us today. You all, we have a very special episode today. I told you I'm bringing you people that you need to meet. This is someone that I had an opportunity to meet. Well, before I get into the introduction, let me say, be sure to like, follow, subscribe, share this with everyone you know. Get tapped in with the $9 Academy. We have lessons on there that are for $9. You guys, there's no more excuses. All the things that you wish you would have been taught is going to be in one place for only $9. I'll never charge you hundreds of thousands of dollars to learn life lessons. So with that being said, let me get into this introduction because I got somebody here that I have been following for a while, over a decade now. It seems like it's been about 10 years. No way. It has, because that's when you became a judge. How long you been a judge? 8 years. So when you campaigned
for 10 years.
Yeah, it was 10 years because I was living downtown.
Wow.
Yeah, so. So y'all know me. I'm a people person, and I study people. So this is somebody who I've actually studied and watched grow and evolve in their profession. But this is a Dallas born and bred person, someone that has an amazing story, amazing background, a good name in our city. But from the bench, she is doing some things that, you know, you just don't see being done in cities like in Dallas. She has programs that helps people to not only reintegrate back into society, but to put them in places or put them around people who can help them grow financially, spiritually, emotionally, mentally. I've had the great pleasure of actually being a person who participates in one of her core programs. So I'm going to talk. This introduction will be 20 minutes long if I do it, but I'm going to present to some and introduce to others Judge Shequitta Kelly. What's good?
What's up?
How you like the introduction?
That was good. I was wondering who you was talking about for a minute.
Man, I was talking about you. So listen, I'll tell you the backstory. So I was living downtown. This was like 2003, I want to say it was, and I saw something on the news, or 2013, I'm sorry. And I saw something on the news, and they were profiling you, and they were talking about this young lady who was running for judge at the time, I believe it was. Mm-hmm. And so your story was pretty unique because you talked about how you were a single mother and how you got pregnant at an early age and you didn't allow that to define you. And typically when I see those stories, I'm like, all right, another stereotypical black story, how we made it out the hood. Yeah. But I was watching your story and it was really authentic. You know what I'm saying? And I was just like, okay, that's a different twist on it. But I watched watched you run for office because around this time I was really like into politics, specifically in Dallas, and I started to help people with their campaigns, like doing promotion videos and all kinds of stuff. So I watched you move, and I was like, she's different. Like she's a person. She's not a politician. She's actually a person who wants to see change. So tell our audience who you are, where you from, and then how you even got into a position where you decided, you know what, I need to run for office and become a judge.
Oh, wow. Okay.
That's a lot, huh?
That is a lot.
Who are you and where are you from? Let's start there.
Well, first of all, thank you for having me.
Yes.
Thank you for following me.
Hey.
Thank you for voting for me.
Hey.
And thank you for supporting me.
Let's get it.
Judge Shequitta Kelly, as Tim so eloquently said. And originally, I'm from Indiana.
Really? What part? Oh, yeah. It seems like I remember that. What part?
Michigan City. Small town, not too far from Gary. Everybody knows Gary because of Michael Jackson.
And Richard Pryor.
And Richard Pryor.
Yeah. I'm a historian, so.
Not too many people know
and
that.
Mike Epps is from Gary, too.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, I didn't know that.
I believe he's from Gary, Indiana.
Okay. Yeah. I was born there, and yes, you're right. I was a teenage mom and all of that stuff. But let me first say that never did I think I had any idea or any dream to even become a judge. I did not. I wasn't raised around Black people in the legal industry. And as I said to you before we started recording, I was raised Pentecostal, and the most successful person I knew was the pastor, which was my grandfather.
Pentecostal, for y'all that don't know, them the people. You be in that church all day long.
All day long. But you gonna feel that spirit.
Man, I got a funny story about that. One of the guys who came on the show, and I think you know him. Shout out to my guy, DeAndre Broussard. He invited us to church one time. Yeah. And we were in church forever.
All day.
And I laugh about it. Like me and my friends, and when we laugh about it all day. But yeah, Pentecostal churches, man, listen, Sunday, that's a day.
You're not leaving till you filled with the Holy Spirit.
Man. Like completely. Till you passed out sleep with the Holy Spirit. Yes.
So yes, that was the most successful person I knew.
Yeah.
And no one in my college at the time, I mean, no one in my family at the time had been to college. And so thinking that I was going to be where I am today just really wasn't in my vision at all. I just wanted to be a lawyer. Right. And the funny thing about that is I wanted to be a lawyer because my grandfather, who is my hero, he would always say, yeah, we had this lawyer in our community. Her name was Mary Fox, and she's since passed away. But, oh, yeah, she's one of the smartest people I know. Yeah. You know, and I was like, I want to be like, I want him to think of me like that, right? I want
That's
him
so funny. You know, I say that because my grandfather is my hero. So it's like my dog. My grandfather's my dog. Dog. Like, he lives in California. And so, you know, he's got dementia now. So he'll call now and he'll repeat himself like, 25 times. But that's my dog. That's my guy. Man. So when you say your grandfather's your hero, like I felt that.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, the foundation he laid, how hard he worked, the lessons he taught, and to know how much he loved me without even having to explain it. Yeah. You just felt it. You walk in the room and you just feel that love. And it's that masculine love. Because my father was killed when I was young. So my grandpa was my father figure. And as a little girl, you need to feel that love from a male figure. It shouldn't be the first guy you see in high school or middle school where you feel that love. It needs to come before that.
It's all of it is coming back to me why I kind of drew a little closer to you when you were running, because around that time, my wife's father got murdered. And so it's like all these different dots were being connected. We were actually going to the case. We went through that whole process of him being murdered, to them catching the murderer, to going to the actual case, to watching the guy get convicted for life, to, a TV show being made out of, like the episode, was that one of those murder shows?
Oh, yeah.
Did an episode on it. And some of the people that were on that episode, the prosecutor and the attorney who was on the deal, and I know you know him personally.
Oh, wow.
But on the TV show. But like I remember, seems like I read that about you, about you had lost your father. So it's all coming back to me now. Yeah,
so I was raised in a single family home after my father was killed. And funny thing is, he was killed by his friend.
Her father was killed by a friend too.
Really?
How old were you?
I was 5, almost 5. And so I was raised, just my grandfather was my father figure, because although my mom remarried, I was a pretty tough kid. I'm not gonna lie, I didn't have any respect for this dude that she married. I just didn't. I'm like, you ain't my daddy,
You seen that video on social media where like the dude is putting together the bike for the little girl? She said, your daddy putting together the bike. That ain't none of my daddy. That was you, huh?
That was me.
Oh man.
I was just not I gave my mom a hard time when she tried to remarry. She did remarry.
How old were you?
I was 11.
Wow.
When she remarried. And honestly, that marriage brought nothing but, it was just downhill from there. Yeah. He was addicted to drugs and, he was an amazing man at first. He was this big time chef. We lived in Seattle and he had tons of money and, because he was the chef of the Space Needle. He was huge.
Are you kidding me? So I hate that. I always feel like I'd be like, yeah, I did that too. But like, Seattle's literally one of my favorites. So I took the wife and the kid both kids. We went to Seattle for Christmas. It's one of my favorite cities.
It is amazing.
It's so beautiful. And then we went up to Vancouver.
Yes, yes.
But yeah, the Space Needle, he was the chef of the Space Needle?
He was the chef of the
Space
Needle. That was huge. That was in the 80s.
Black man?
Yes.
Oh, that's huge.
And he was an amazing chef. But during that time, he was hanging out with a lot of rich men, rich white men.
They do that powder.
And that's what it was. It wasn't no crack.
They do that powder. Black folks, we smoke a little crack. You know what I'm saying?
No. He was doing the straight
the good
cocaine.
Stuff, yeah.
So it started off great. The marriage started off great, but it ended up just causing havoc in all of our lives. And so...
How long did you live in Seattle?
For about 4 years.
Really?
And then we moved back to Indiana.
Did y'all ever go to Alaska?
No.
Okay.
And I want to do the Alaskan cruise. I know it has nothing to do with
That's all. It's going to all come back together by the end of this podcast. I promise you. We be all over the place, but we get to the point. But go ahead.
But okay, so raised Pentecostal, single mom until she remarried, and really she was still single.
I have to ask you something.
What?
When you say Pentecostal, is Church of God in Christ?
Yes.
You know Dr. Moses Harris, don't you?
I don't.
Okay, so Dr. Moses Harris, he's my uncle. So he's over like all the Church of God in Christ stuff in the Seattle area.
Well, no. So what I will say is when we were in Seattle, I can't even tell you if we hardly went to church.
Okay, okay.
Now my mom, don't forget, she's a preacher's kid.
Oh, Lord.
Pentecostal preacher's kid.
Man.
So as soon as she got away from the nest.
She got away.
She was like,
Okay.
I go to church when I go to church.
Yeah.
You know? But when we were in Indiana, it was tennis shoes and skirts.
Say, man. them culottes.
But look, I'm coming in style now, and I'm like, I already know how to rock those.
So now I'm gonna tease you now because every time I find out people used to be Pentecostal and I see them wearing pants, I'm like, hey,
yeah,
you supposed to have them pants on.
Yeah. So real.
Yeah.
And the funny thing is I still have never wore a pair of pants to church.
It's in you.
It's just in me.
Yeah.
And I know there's nothing wrong with that, but you know, when you're raised that way, it's just in you.
Yeah.
So fast forward, I have one sister. I have a brother on my father's side who I didn't meet until I was 30.
Oh, wow.
Because he was raised in Mississippi and I was in Indiana, and my mothers didn't know each other. And my dad died when he was 8 and I was 4.5.
Wow.
So he found me.
Doing DNA type stuff?
He had a relative that knew where I was, and he found me, tracked me down and said, hey, I'm your brother. I'm your older brother.
How did that make you feel? Like, what was that like?
I was quiet. I was withdrawn. I was guarded because of my circumstances too, right? I lived and my childhood was kind of rocky with the stepdad doing all this crazy stuff. And so I wasn't really a trusting person anyway. Mm-hmm. And so when he called, I was kind of like, this isn't my brother. I don't have a brother. Yes, you do. And I want to meet you. And when I first met him, I was 31, I believe. And we looked just alike. So it was like, yeah.
He's my brother.
And he's just a clown. He's hilarious. Yeah. I love him to death.
Do you see like you inside of him? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like those, have you learned anything about yourself through that relationship?
Well, what I will say is I learned a different type of protection as not having a male figure, but my grandfather. It was different to have now a brother who was checking in on me and making sure. He's like, look, you need something. Anybody mess with you, I got you. And so I learned that, which is a nice thing to have. And I also learned he has absolutely no nonsense like me. We have a lot of things in common and hadn't met each other until I was 31.
So my pops was out there slanging that pipe too. And and I found I had a brother. He was 30 when I met him. I found him during the pandemic.
Oh, really?
So I always knew I had a brother. I always knew it because you know how you have a feeling? Like my dad, I ain't gonna shit on my pops on here. Like he's like the most charming person you'll ever meet.
That's probably...
He speaks like 8 languages.
Oh, wow.
Like my daddy can pull him in every language. You know what I'm saying? Like me and my sister often joke and say we probably got another sibling in Korea or Japan somewhere. He speaks fluent Japanese, fluent Korean, fluent Spanish, military. And so good looking guy, you know, very charming guy. Like he was a preacher. You know what I'm saying? So, you know, they already got that mouthpiece, right? And so I always knew it was somebody. And then one day I started doing my research through the child support system. And so come to find out, it was like a documented kid on child support. But the kid had got adopted because his mother got remarried. And the new guy adopted him.
Okay.
And so once you adopt a kid in the state of California, everything about them is sealed. Oh. So they wouldn't even tell me his name. So that was like 2003. So I asked my dad about it. He's like, yeah, it is somebody out there. I don't know his name though. He pulled that shit on me. So then fast forward, like during the pandemic, I get this call. It's like, hey, we think we found your brother. And these are the same family members who I was telling about, and they didn't believe me. They thought I was just, trying to make my dad look bad. And it turned out to be, he lived in Denver. And so I got on the plane, like I talked to him that Tuesday. I was on a plane a day later. I was in Denver Thursday morning.
Oh, wow.
We met. We went to an actual physical lab. We didn't do the ancestors. We went to a DNA lab. They swabbed us.
How old is he?
He's 6 years younger than me. So I'm 30. I'll be 40 this year. So he's like 33, 34.
Oh, wow.
But like we cool. Like we super cool. And then he met my son, my wife for the first time. I took him to meet my grandfather.
Oh, that's great.
And he got to meet my grandfather from my grandfather started getting dementia. So like my grandfather has real memories of him. Mm-hmm. But it was the most interesting thing to see another person that looked like me,
act like you,
act like
similarities,
me, funny,
yeah,
cool, down to earth. And now we have real brother to brother talks. Now it's the most rewarding thing.
It is. I'm telling you,
yeah.
Yes. And I was thinking, I haven't known this man my whole life.
Yeah.
So this is going to be a meet and greet, and that's it.
It opens up another piece of you because it's like, I'm really big on learning who my family members were because you learn a lot about yourself once you know who your family members were. Like I have my dad on my grandmother's side, on my dad's side, like a lot of my family members speak different languages. Like I have an uncle who teaches college in Seattle, like he has a PhD. He's a language professor. He's black as you can think.
I love that.
And it's like, well, man, I can learn languages, right? Or why am I so entrepreneurial? Like all of my uncles are entrepreneurial.
Yeah.
So it's like, I started learning stuff about myself. I'm like, damn, like this is me.
Well, and meeting my brother also helped me learn more about my father.
Yeah.
Because he was older. And so he could tell me things that I just never would have known without him.
Yeah.
One thing he told me is that we both have the same birthday.
Who?
Me and my father.
Really?
For all this time, I thought that his birthday was the 30th of October, and I'm on Halloween.
Yeah.
And he was like, "No, your birthday. You and Dad have the same birthday. His birthday's Halloween."
Wow. I did not know you was a Halloween baby.
I'm a Halloween baby.
That's why everybody's so scared
of you.
I'm the
treat, though.
You know what I mean?
I'm the treat. I'm not the treat.
You ain't the treat. You ain't wearing no jeans to church. No, I'm messing with you. That's cool.
Yeah. So I met him in my 30s. I have an older sister. Yeah. She's the same age as my brother. They're both 5 years older than me.
Yeah.
And through all, like I was telling you, the importance of having that male love, the father figure of a young girl is very important because I didn't have it. And so, although my grandfather showed it to me, I didn't have that father, love.
The girl's first love was her dad.
I needed it because my first love wasn't my dad. It was the guy who got me pregnant at 15.
Yeah.
I thought, right?
Yeah.
I was like, yeah, I love him and I'm going to marry him.
At 15.
I was 14, first of all, when I met him and thought I was going to marry him. 15 when I got pregnant. And so, but I always say that I feel if my father was there and teach me how a guy is supposed to treat you. My grandfather wasn't going to do all that. My grandfather was that strict Pentecostal.
You don't need no boyfriend anyway.
That's exactly what my grandma.
Your little fast ass.
Sit down.
What they say. You don't need no boyfriend. Who is people?
Don't look over there, right?
Do we go to church?
Do we go to church?
Yeah.
You can't be dealing with them worldly people.
Yeah, the worldly people. Yeah.
So, I met a kid. We were kids in middle school, and by high school, that was my husband.
Yeah.
Got pregnant, had my daughter, and decided that I still wanted to try to flee the nest and be something. I wanted to be that lawyer. Let's
talk about that because from communities like the ones that we come from, pregnancy is almost like the end. Like now you have this baby, you have to take care of this baby, so your dreams need to be placed on hold.
That's exactly what was told to me.
You need to go to work.
Exactly.
Because I'm not going to be taking care of these kids.
Were you there? Because that sounded like you were.
That's in the black people blueprint. Like that's in the hood. That's in the hood blueprint, right? I think about my sister. My sister had my niece. I want to say she got pregnant at 19. My sister always had a good job and did everything, but she put her entire life on hold for her kids.
Yeah.
And then one day she woke up, she says, no, I'm going to graduate college before my daughter graduates high school. And I believe they graduated like a year apart. And now she had to live, both her kids are out. They're gone. My sister living her best life.
It's the best thing. Like, It was hard then, but now I'm like, I'm traveling the world. I'm doing what I want.
But you didn't put your life on hold. And I want to talk about that because too often in the black community, but in communities where people come out of poverty, if you will, once a child comes or a set of circumstances come, then we put our lives on hold. And then we turn up to be 40 and we wish that we would have. Like, can you talk about why? What motivated you to say, no, this isn't the end for me. I'm going to bring her along.
My surroundings motivated me. Honestly, seeing, although it was acceptable for the other people in my community to just get a job and raise their family and maybe purchase a home. And that was it. That was good, right? And for me, I was like, yeah, but I want to live in a big city. You know, I want to travel. I want to make money. Like there were so many things that I wanted that I did not see in my community at the time that it made me say, if I stay here, this is what I'm going to get. Right. And this is good for some people, but it's not what you really want. So how do you get what you want? And I honestly couldn't see how that would work because no one had paved that way. I didn't have anybody who went to college and can say, this is how you go to college. This is what you need to do. I didn't have anyone that had went to law school. Like I didn't know how to get there. And so I remember being in school, especially as a teenage mom, everybody was like, yeah, girl, you better get you a job and you can go to college after you raise that kid. You need to
Section 8?
Section 8, get your food stamps, which I had all of that.
Ain't nothing wrong with that. It's an entitlement.
Hey, and you have to use your resources until you no longer need them.
Say it again.
And that's what I teach everybody. Y'all trying to be so prideful, you're getting stuck right there with your pride.
Right there with
you're not moving anywhere because you're stuck.
Man, I drove to the food stamp office in my Lexus.
Now you know you're wrong.
In a suit. No, let me tell you what happened. So like, I was in corporate at the time, and my bosses didn't too much care for me, man. So I got fired on some bull stuff, right? And so I'll never forget. I'm thinking, well, man, you know, like I still got to make this money. I need to sell some houses, but I need something right now because I didn't save like I should have. And I told myself, well, I also need something. And I was in college at the time, like taking courses, and I had taken a government course. It was on public administration, I think it was. And it talked about entitlements. So as a military veteran, you have entitlements. As a citizen who pays taxes, and I paid a lot of taxes over my life. Well, apparently I'm entitled to food stamps.
Yes.
And so I was like, really?
Yes.
So I went down there, Judge, listen, let me tell you.
You pulled up in your Lexus
I had on
in your
suit, and I parked in the first parking spot.
Give me my food stamps.
And I walked in, and everybody was like, what is he doing? Even the counselor was like, I was like, no, ma'am, according to this, I have an entitlement. So they gave me like $130, maybe $160. No, $130. And then I told them I keep my son for half the time. So then they gave me like $175. And I was like, okay, this will do.
Hey.
And so I got my bread, man. The lady, it was so.
She probably was looking at you like, come on now.
Man, I don't give a damn what she was looking at.
Exactly.
Because here's the thing, she asked me all these questions like, do you own a property? Like, yeah, I'm a homeowner. I had a mortgage and everything, but like people have too much pride and they want to be too cool. But my thing was, no, like I've paid into this system for 15 years almost.
Yes,
like,
so I should get some of the benefits.
I need some of my money.
Yeah, okay.
So I got my entitlement. So talk about like, you said that you knew what you wanted to be, even though you didn't see it around you, but you had people supporting you saying you can actually do this. Like, talk about that.
You know, to be honest, there weren't a lot of people initially. Because that's what happens when you do something that's out of the ordinary. You're going to have more doubters first because,
That's a fact.
Yeah, they can't see it happening either. Right? And so it's not that they're necessarily doubting you because they dislike you, but for most family members, they are trying to protect you. And so that doubt is, yeah, I don't think you need to do that. It's because of that fear. They haven't seen it either. They don't know what that looks like for their baby Shequitta, their grandbaby Shequitta, their niece Shequitta, their cousin Shequitta, who's a straight A student, and now she could go get her a good job. And you mean to tell me she get ready mess that all up and just leave? No. You sure you? No, I think you need to stay and think this thing out. And that wasn't because they didn't think that I was smart enough to do it. It was because they had never seen it done and they couldn't help me. And so there was a fear behind that, which I now know. But back then I was like, man, family don't even love me. They just trying to keep me here and nobody's supporting me. But really it was operating from custom. And the customs is you get a job when you have a child. And you work and you pay your bills and you vote and you pay your taxes. And this is what you do to live life. You're trying to do something outside this box. And we can't protect you outside this box.
That's real.
Because we don't have the skills to protect you outside this box. We never been outside this box. So if you gonna go out, you on your own.
That's the allegory of the cave. You know, you've never been out. So, and I used to feel some kind of way. Like, whenever I got into real estate, I had so many people tell me not to do it. Like, you know, it's just like, well, don't nobody love me, don't nobody support me. You know, when I first started selling, like, my own family members, nobody bought a house for me. And it's like, it wasn't that they didn't want me to be successful. They didn't see me in that light.
They didn't see themselves either.
Say it again. Say it again. That's what I literally preach.
Either.
Yeah.
And so you have to have a certain amount of stubbornness and courage and faith to step outside that box and leave everything that you're familiar with in that box and take a risk.
Let's talk about the risk you took. So you graduate high school. What happens after that?
I'm like, all right, I'm going to college.
Where'd you go?
IU, Indiana University. I'm a Hoosier.
Okay.
So we went there, and I took my daughter, which was an even bigger risk because even the people at the college was kind of like, yeah, so we could find a place for you and your child, right? Yeah. Because this is my responsibility. So she's going with me, and we're going to learn this together. And we did. She helped raise me as much as I helped raise her. And I always say, here I am with this responsibility to raise a little girl on how to be an adult woman that I'm not yet. I was 18 at college, and I got to teach her how to be an adult woman that I'm not.
That's parenting 101.
Yeah. And people always say, yeah, you know, I don't know how to be a parent. No one knows how to be a parent until you're there.
They don't.
Until you're there. And it really is, unfortunately, trial and error, which is what half of us have.
Listen, I got a 13-year-old and a 7-month-old. And it's funny how patient I am now with the baby. But, you know, with my son, it was basic training. You know what I'm saying?
It is.
So even now, even he can tell, like, man, Dad, you kind of softening up a little bit. You kind of, you know, I'm so much more patient with him now because I understand, like, we did what we were taught to do. We emulated what we saw, specifically with parenting. And one thing that I don't do anymore is I don't yell at my kids anymore. Like, I don't even raise my voice anymore because what happens is now I'm creating a trigger. So now when he gets older and thinks that when he's upset, he's going to think that the natural thing to do is to yell and cuss and act the fool.
Right, yeah.
And so I don't even yell at him no more. And it's like, it's been so peaceful around the house because it's just like when he do something stupid, I'm like, come on, bro. Like, what are you doing? You know?
And he still gets the message.
And I make him walk me through what to do instead of, you know, you going to get in trouble, blah, blah, blah. It's like, I say, come here. Now, show me specifically what was your thought process. and it's funny. Like, my wife be laughing, but it's like.
Walk me through it.
Walk me through what you were thinking because I want to make sure I understand. And it's like, we've gotten so far in the last, since the baby's been born, just doing that, than we've ever gotten. So you took her off to college with you.
Took her to college, and that was different, right? Because I'm the only one with a child.
Really? There was no other people there with kids?
Not my first year. My second year, another girl came along, and she had a son, and she was in track, and she was doing it too. She was getting up at 4 a.m, going to track. She had a track scholarship, and taking her baby to daycare, and she was doing it.
Really?
And so seeing her, I guess I should tell her this because I never have. Well, I was there struggling, trying to balance, take her to daycare. I was taking her to classes when I wasn't supposed to take her to class because I was running late and couldn't take her to daycare. I was making her a pallet at study hours. I'm out to 10, 11 o'clock at night with this 2-year-old, and she got her blanket and her baby doll and her snacks, and we had study sessions. But when I got there, I realized that I had a point to prove. And like you said, you was like, they don't love me. That's how I felt. I didn't even talk to my family like the first 6 months I was there.
Why not?
I was mad. I was mad at them. I was mad at them because they should have did this. They should have did that. And all they did was tell me I need to get a job. And so I was like, they
didn't support you.
That's how I felt. I felt like they did not support me.
Wow.
But in retrospect, I realized it was, like I told you, they didn't know how. How are you going to tell somebody how to do something and encourage them and support them when you've never been there?
Okay.
All you can really do is, well, if you need me, I'm here. But you don't even know what to offer. And so another thing I learned once I was there, and my first semester was miserable. I worked 3 jobs. Did you hear me?
Kevin Case.
3 jobs and with my child, and I had 15 credit hours.
Who watched the baby?
Oh, so I had a new friend that I met, right?
A lot of faith. That's that faith you were talking about.
A new friend. I was like, oh, she seemed cool. She gonna be asleep anyway, because I was working at night. So, but what I realized is that my whole community was watching me. And I was bearing a task for more than just me.
Well, no, you're not finna skip over that. Because I feel like as successful Black people, we often have to kind of like carry the cross for everybody. I was talking to a person before you came in his parents migrated from India. And we talked about how I said my theory is a lot of times when people come over, for lack of better words, they send their best, because these are the people who can afford to come over. And then they know when they come over, they have to work. They have to send money back, right? Mm-hmm. As a person that's in the Black community, it's like we represent every Black person with every move we make. Black businesses have to literally bear the brunt of every type of criticism. And if one Black business has bad customer service, it covers all of us, right? So then there's this stigma. Oh, well, don't go over there. They Black, they got bad customer service. And Black people are the ones that perpetuate it. So, when you say you had to do all that, like, talk about how important it was for you to not necessarily prove people wrong, but to really prove yourself right that it could be done.
Well, it was important because what I realized is that if I failed and I did not get my degree and I had to go back and get that job and just take care of my child like they told me to.
They were right.
They were right. But not only that, for those who were watching to see if I could, hoping that I would lead the way for them to do it, I wasn't only going to ruin it for me. I was going to ruin it for all those people.
That's deep.
Who were hoping that they could do it
That's
too.
deep. That's deep. It's such a catch-22.
It is. And it's a lot of pressure.
It's a lot of pressure.
And with that,
it's a lot of pressure.
Yeah, it's a lot of pressure. And so I knew that, my little baby cousins who wanted to be something different than just get a job. They wanted to leave. They wanted to be lawyers or doctors or whatever. I knew that if they saw Shequitta, who was a straight A honor student, and she couldn't do it, I'm not even going to try. Because in their mind, I was the best that got sent off, right? And so if the best that got sent off comes back and says, nah, y'all, don't go.
No, that's hard out there.
Yeah, they're going to stay in that box.
Man, that's deep. That's so deep. I often tell the story of how, our mentoring program, we like to take our boys to travel. And one year we took them to Memphis, Atlanta, and Birmingham, Alabama. Memphis, we stayed in this big mansion. The house was so big, it was the front part of the house was in Tennessee and the backyard was in Mississippi. Like, it was a big house.
Dang.
Then from there we went to Atlanta, and they were in Mercedes-Benz Sprinter vans. We stayed in the Westin Hotel, the big glass Westin, like the big one. They all had, city view rooms. These are kids. Some of them never left Dallas. And I always tell people, there's a lot of people that never leave their area unless they're going to court or prison.
Right. Yes.
And so when we got back to Dallas, like 85% of the kids that went with us were straight A students from then on out. Because they got the exposure. Yeah. They saw something outside their hood. There was more to life outside of Oak Cliff and Pleasant Grove and South Dallas.
Yes.
Like, there's a whole world out there that once you expose someone to, Judge, they'll never be able. It's like taking that Matrix pill. You'll never be able to unsee it.
Yeah, and you can't go back. It motivates you to want more. When you see other people that look like you doing more, then you like, oh, well, if they can do it, I can too.
And it's not a competition thing.
It's not, but it's a motivating force.
It's a motivation thing. And I try to explain it to people, like, if we would get out of the mindset of feeling the need to compete with people, like when you see somebody from your city or from your hood, wherever you're from, doing something, like, my thing is, oh, you from where I'm from. Can we have a conversation?
Yeah,
like,
how did you get there?
How did you get there? If you're going to charge me to sit down and talk to you, like, what's your fee? I need to know that information because you have it. And you clearly made it out of whatever we call making it out of, right?
Right.
So,
but there's a catch-22 with that, because also what I noticed is as I started to succeed, and when I ended up getting 2 degrees, psychology and a criminal justice degree, and I graduated early. So don't ask me how I did that. You
got 2 degrees and you graduated early?
With a baby.
With a baby. Did you pledge in college too?
I did.
Oh, yes. My God.
Shout out to my sorors, Delta Sigma Theta.
You're superhuman.
But what I learned was some people, it made them afraid of me.
Talk
in
about
the
that.
sense, they felt like I could not identify with them anymore. And so when I would go home from college and try to hook up with my old friends, hey, y'all getting together, they would avoid me. And I was like, well, I couldn't understand, why are my friends? Like, what's going on? Why no one wants to hang out anymore? And it was, well, you're not going to do what we doing. We just going to bowling oh, we just hanging out. And it was almost as if they thought I couldn't identify with them anymore because now I've left the square. That was the most painful
talk
part.
about that. I think I posted something like that this morning on social media. Like, when you start becoming more professional, you start setting boundaries, people take it personal. Mm-hmm. And one of the things I wrote my book real dope. The reason I wrote my book is because literally when I would come back to the hood to get my haircut, people would always ask, how'd you get into real estate? How'd you do this? So I wrote the book for them. Like, I didn't write it to sell hundreds of thousands of copies. I literally wrote a pamphlet style book for my friends so that they could stop selling dope and start selling real estate.
I like that.
But I noticed the same thing. Like, a lot of people felt like I wasn't relatable. And it's just like, bro, I'm just like you. Like, I have them same stories. I know them same people. I done been through the same stuff.
Yeah.
When I go downtown, I say the worst thing about being who I am is that when I go downtown, it's people that look at me like I'm a nigga. Mm-hmm. And then when I come back here, y'all looking at me like I think I'm better than y'all.
Yes.
But I'm literally going down there to represent you. Yeah. I'm literally showing up like, yo, this is Tim from Pleasant Grove. I know how to read. I have a degree. I'm good at what I do, but I don't forget where I come from. And I understand that the opportunities that I'm down here fighting for are so that the people who come from where I come from can have them. When I come back home,
you don't understand.
Why you treat me like I don't know?
Yes. Did you forget who I am?
That shit hurt.
It hurt. That was the most hurtful part of my whole, I say, journey to success was I felt like they took my identity. They tried to take like the core. They call me Quita back home. And it was like, I'm still Quita.
You still Quita?
So what's up? Right, you know?
I'm changing that number in the phone to Quita now.
Gosh.
So it's not going to say Judge Kelly no more. It's going to say Quita. So from this day forward.
Don't nobody else call me that.
I'm reaching out to you. It's Quita. All right?
And I'm like, but so it was now Shequitta who went to college, who got her degrees, who da-da-da-da-da-da. And yeah, that is now part of who I am, but I still have the foundation and the roots. I'm still that Pentecostal church girl that was wearing those tennis shoes and them culottes.
This is a chapter in the book.
They just couldn't see me anymore.
Why do you think that is? Why do you think that we often sit back as black people, and I'm going to say it, we often sit back and we look for a leader, if you will, or someone who can represent us. But when that person gets put in that position, man, we tear them down just as quick as we elevate them. Like, that's why I'm real big on, like, I don't do the whole celebrity stuff. Like, I don't want you to look at me no different. I'm the same Tim, because I know as soon as y'all build me up, y'all gonna kick me down and stomp on me. Like, but why do you think that is? Like, why do we say, help me, help me, help me? I need somebody to represent me. I need help. And then when that person goes to represent you, oh, they think they better than us now. What's that about?
I'm gonna have to go deep in it for a minute.
Let's do it. Let's do it.
I don't even know if your listeners is ready for this.
Let's do it. I want you to go deep.
You know, I feel like, unfortunately, it's rooted back into the slave mentality. I do. I feel like because back when we were slaves and you got put in a certain position, we were played against each other, right? You got the person who is now working in the house and they are being played against the person who's in the fields. And the real thing that we keep forgetting is that we were still slaves, all of us. Despite our position in the house or the fields, we still have the same struggle. But if you fast forward, I believe the slave mentality is hereditary. I believe that. And I think it traps us and it causes all kind of roadblocks for us. And I don't know how to undo that and if that ever can be undone. But I believe that when we have someone that is in the same square, I'm going to keep saying square, that same community as us, we identify with them and we all are like, yeah, we still got the same struggle, right? We all in the field together pulling cotton, picking cotton, right? But then when one of us goes out of that and it looks like we are excelling, now we in the kitchen and we cooking and we get to not get beat on. We just stand there and watch, right? And now it's like, oh, they don't understand. She don't understand anymore. And now I feel that the community, those who are in that circle, have a need to poke away to make themselves feel as important because they looking at us as we like, oh, they think they so important. No, we're still the same. I remember when I was a prosecutor. Tim, you trying hard to hold back.
No, because this shit is so real, and I have this conversation so often. people don't realize even through your elevation, there's still a level of abuse.
Absolutely.
The abuse just gets different.
And it looks different.
Because if you want to talk slave and field, because, you know, my background is history. Them people that was in the house, they were getting it.
And
their level of abuse was so much more deep. Many of the offsprings that come from these people came from the house.
But what makes it worse for the people in the house is that we still got to look good.
You still got to look good.
And so when you're successful, I can't spin off like I would back with Quita, right? Yeah. I got too much more to risk, and you need me here.
Say that again.
You need me here in this house. Mm-hmm. But if I say what I would have said when I was working in the field, we wouldn't have me here, because they're going to get rid of me. They're going to get rid of Judge Kelly if Judge Kelly spin off and go Quita.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
And sadly, the people that's going to lead the charge to get rid of you is going to be your own people.
Yeah.
But we're not doing that on this episode. We're not going there, Judge. We need Judge in that bench. So I'm not taking Judge down that rabbit hole.
But what I'm saying is I think what happens is, and when I was running for judge, some of my biggest naysayers were from the community, but also some of my biggest supporters were from the community.
That's real.
I mean, I was standing outside the polls, and this man walked up to another lady who was running for judge, and she said, "Hey, did you vote for me? No, can you vote for me?" And he said, "Oh, I just came out. You know, it's Duncanville Library. I just came out. I voted." And he said, "What's your name?" And she's told him. He goes, "Oh, I didn't get you, but I got a Shequitta though. Mm-hmm. I got a Shequitta." How'd
that make you feel?
I used to hate my name. I used to be embarrassed of my name. No one could say it, and it was so black. It's so black.
You know them black. We be having them loves, quas, shuds. That's all black.
Yeah.
And the uniqueness of our names. It's like everything that makes black people unique, or whatever is what everyone attacks. Like I recently started working out, and I've lost like 20 pounds. I got 20 more to go. Like I'm really getting fit. One of the things that I've added to my diet is watermelon. Specifically watermelon with seeds. Mm-hmm. But the stereotype, like I know black people who will not eat watermelon because of the stereotype. But what people don't understand is that after slavery and during, the whole Reconstruction, everything that happened after slavery, like black people were sharecroppers and many of them sold watermelon. Like black people were making tons of money.
And watermelon is good.
Off of watermelon.
Listen, that's a stereotype I'm going to step into.
It is.
I'm going to step into that one.
But we were so economically savvy, and we benefited from watermelon. So what took place was there was a campaign to shame black people in watermelon. So you start seeing all these postcards, all these different black figures and these different, dolls and stuff, or just these big buck-toothed, super black people eating watermelon. And it became a mechanism to shame black people out of being able to earn a living for themselves. So it's like, you telling me that people don't want to eat watermelon based off of someone else's opinion of how it looked, based off of the fact that you didn't need those people anymore? Like, we're going to have to learn our history and understand that slave, we carry down all these mentalities.
It's hereditary. And that's the thing with my name, people used to make fun of it, even black people, right? Yeah. I remember one guy was like, "That sounds like a venereal disease."
Wow.
And I was just like, dang. And so I
told it to your face?
Yeah. He was like, "That's not your name." I was like, "Yeah." He was like, "That sounds like a venereal disease." But not only that, so listen.
That's crazy.
But listen, so I became afraid of being Shequitta because Shequitta meant I was very black.
And I don't know any white Shequittas.
Oh, absolutely not. You never will, right? But it made me, why was I afraid of being very black? And even today, now, I know people on my level that are afraid of being too black.
Oh, we're not going to talk about that.
We're not going to talk about that. But so that was, and when I was running for judge, I saw a white man posted on his page. I can't even remember how I found this. And he said he had a picture of me, my campaign picture, a screenshot from my campaign page. And he said, "This has to be fake. There's absolutely no way someone by the name of Shequitta could be running for judge." And all these people were commenting, laughing at my name and saying all this stuff. And so a wise black man told me, he said, "Let them laugh, because that's going to be the name that's going to make you a judge." And when I stood outside that poll and that man said to that other lady, "But I got a Shequitta though," I was like,
that was it.
There go my community.
There go your
Stand
people.
Up. Stand up.
That's real. Oftentimes when we get to another level, we feel like we have to shed off who we are.
Yeah.
And I always tell people I could probably have over 1 million followers, a blue check, and so much recognition if I just shed it off who I was. You know what I'm saying? But it's who I am. It's in me to represent who I am, but not because I want to be this guy who's representing my community, but I want to be the guy who, I don't want a kid to feel like the only person that they can look up to is an entertainer, a ball player. You know, when I go and speak at schools, and I know you're heavily involved in the schools now with your Pipeline to Prison program, right? Is that what it's called?
Pipeline to Possibility.
Pipeline to Possibility program. Like, when I talk to the boys, it's always a situation where the girls always seem to know what they want to do. If I say, ladies, what you want to be when you want to grow up? I want to be a doctor. I want to be a lawyer. I want to be this. I want to be that, be that. I say, boys, fellas, what you want to be? I want to play football. I want to play basketball. Or I want to do this. And there's nothing wrong with it because I have clients who've played in almost every league.
Right.
But why is that the only thing we think of as black boys as it equates to success?
And I always tell them, I say, you understand that it's harder to be a professional player than it is to be a judge.
Facts. I literally did something with my attorney, DeMarcus. I said, you know, it is statistically more, it's statistically less impossible to become a pro football player, a basketball player, than it is to become an attorney.
Yes.
A doctor, an engineer, a physicist,
Anything.
like anything. It's like, but it's like we play the lottery with our kids.
Yeah.
You know, when we put on events, we used to put on events at Thurgood Marshall Recreation Center all the time. And the worst turnout was always during football season because next to us in the field were football camps and they would pack those things out.
Yeah.
And it's like, y'all, we teaching boys how to own the team. But, you know, why do you think it is that we don't place enough value collectively on those things, or why we don't place more, you know, more Quittas or more Tims in front of these kids to see that, no, you can also do this too? Because
we never saw that. That's the thing, right?
You keep going back to that, but you're right.
How many black judges did you know growing up?
I didn't know any black judges.
I didn't either.
I didn't.
That's why if you saw a black male judge come to your school in elementary, and just say, "Hey, you could be a judge too," you might say, "Yeah, I could play basketball, but that right there, he the GOAT. That's what I want." But if you never saw that, and you saw Michael Jordan, Scottie Pippen,
that's all you saw.
You like, oh, I want to be that. He to go. We weren't exposed to all these other black scientists, and even though it's in our history, you know, I mean, we got what's his name, Carver. We got scientists, the guy who created the X-ray machine, Alcorn.
Yeah. So
we have those people, but we weren't taught our history.
We only talked about them during Black History Month.
Yes.
We saw Jordan every day.
Yes. And so if you had if your doctor as a little boy was black, you know, he's cool. Yeah. You would want to be like him.
Yeah. That's a fact.
And so that is why we put more emphasis, even, you know, our parents, because what do they see? They see the same things we see.
No, let's talk about that.
It's different now, but I'm talking about as we were growing up.
As we were growing up, it's, you know, you and I, we're at that age. I think you and I are around the same age where we were that first generation that was introduced to the internet. You know, I remember the AOL CDs. You know what I'm saying? 15 minutes still online.
You've got mail.
You've got mail. Yeah. Come on, come through now. Right? And so it's like we're that last generation that knew what it was like for television to go off.
Yes.
You know, how having cable was huge. If you had cable, if you had a cell phone,
you was rich.
You remember if you had a cell phone or a beeper, you know, he must be selling drugs.
See, I wasn't allowed to have that. I was a Pentecostal kid, so we didn't get all that. But the people with the beepers were selling drugs.
They were selling drugs. They just a doctor selling drugs.
Yes.
But it's like, you know, now we have so much access. And that's what I tell kids. Like, I remember flying on a plane for the first time at 5 years old. And they let me look into the cockpit.
Yep.
And
did you get your little wings?
I got my little wings. And I said on that day, I want to be a pilot.
See?
Literally, that day I said I want to be a pilot. And that was something that I got into the aviation program at Skyline. And I'm going to the Air Force, which there's not too many. There's correlations, but there's not. But like my whole idea of what I want to be was shaped by that one experience. And if the only experience is a bunch of, for lack of better words, and this is not a Judge Kelly endorsed statement probably, but if all we see is a bunch of nigga shit all day long, like that's what we're going to believe is the only thing that's out there for us. And then you be 40 years old, like, wait a minute, there's more? Or they come through your court system and they realize that there's people that care about them. There's people, there's programs out there for them, but they have to find out after the fact.
But you know what that also does by not seeing Black people or people that look like you in higher positions? It causes us to distrust when we do see it.
Talk about that.
So when you go to a doctor and the doctor is Black and they say you need to do this, this, this. Now for me, I mean, I've been having Black doctors for a while, but if you aren't used to that, it's like, do you really know it? I used to get that from my own family.
I bet. When
I decided to run for judge, and even when I was prosecuting huge, big old cases, right? Life sentences, capital murders. And my mom used to say, "Whew, now you sure you can handle all that?"
Yeah.
And I used to say, I have 3 degrees, 2 law licenses. I think I can handle it.
But you quit it up.
But you know, it's that psychology too, though, not having seen, I'm the first Black prosecutor they saw. Really? I'm the first Black judge they saw. Yes. And so it's like, it's almost kind of a, can you really do that?
Or you're an anomaly.
Yeah.
Which isn't fair, because then it creates this, it's like an air of mystique, but it's also people are apprehensive or they're afraid to come and talk to you. It's like, you're a human being.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? Like, seriously, like, a person doesn't have to be on pins and needles unless they're in your courtroom fighting a case, I guess, like, but
unless I use my deep voice.
Unless you use your deep voice. Yeah. You put the glasses down here, right? But I think that it's important for people to see people like you, because we're in a different time now. And I always say that we can't make any more excuses. Like, everything that we want to see in shade of Black is in the shade of Black now.
Yes. And so, and our the ceiling doesn't seem so far away now, right? It's like, I could get there. I could break that glass ceiling too, because I have all these influences around me. And you talked about the internet. Now you can Google it. Before, we couldn't. We really only could see what was right there in our community.
We had to go to the library. That's how I found out what a real estate broker was.
Really?
So I went to school. You know the prosecutor. I don't mind saying her name because it's in my book. Crystal Biggins. Yeah. Crystal Biggins' mom was a real estate broker. So I was like, damn, what your mama do for a living? Crystal had the new car, sophomore year. Her mom had her shit together, for lack of better words. And she would be at the school and be at events. I'm like, my mom worked a job where she couldn't take off work.
Yes.
So I said, what does your mama do for a living? Because my whole thing was, it wasn't that she had all the stuff. It was the freedom that her mother had. Mm-hmm. She was like, my mom was a real estate broker.
You was like, huh? What's that?
I said, what's that? So I had to go to the library, look up what a real estate broker, check out some books. Like, that's how I learned what a real estate broker was, right? Mm-hmm. And so, but it was learning at a young age and actually seeing it, right? I would have never known what there was. But what I saw was not necessarily the lifestyle. I saw the freedom. I saw the fact that if her mother needed to come up to that school at 11 o'clock in the daytime, she could be there. Mm-hmm. And that intrigued me, because my mom worked a job where she had so much time off, some PTO, and, if she would come to events, she would have on her uniform and stuff like that. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. And shout out to my mom, hardworking woman.
I love it. I love it.
But I always wanted to be in a situation where my kids knew that Dad would always be there no matter what. I'm that daddy that's going to be Tim. Mr. Tim is always there. And seeing that was believing it. Yeah.
And see, your children will be raised to expect to see Blackness when they open a door. They're going to expect they're not going to be shocked when they open a courtroom door and there's a Black young female judge sitting on the bench. They're going to be like, yeah, judge. Yeah. Or they see a prosecutor, or you've been in my courtroom. You see how diverse my courtroom is.
Your courtroom is real diverse. Yeah.
And I did that intentionally.
Yeah.
Yes, because I want people. Typically, it's funny. Every time I fly, I wear a hoodie. Yeah. Wear my J's. I dress down. I do it intentionally. Yeah. I mean, to be comfortable, but also, I don't want people to know what I'm doing, what I do for a living. I don't want to have the conversations on the airplane about...
They'll talk your ear off.
Oh, my goodness. The legal questions. And everyone's very curious about what a judge does. It's kind of like a secret society, right? Which is why I started my TikTok, so that I can start informing people.
Which is blowing up. Your TikTok is so interesting. So, I actually learned more about you through your TikTok, because, my interactions with you have always been super professional. Mm-hmm. I come in, I do what I'm supposed to do, I leave. When I've met with you in your office before, we talked about programs and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. But, your TikTok has really... open up a whole. It's who you are. It's Quita.
It's funny because I was on the phone on my way here and with a sheriff. Speaking about work, and I said, okay, I'm sorry, I have to go. I'm lost. I'm turned around. She goes, hey, by the way, when are you gonna post another TikTok?
Yeah, and I don't follow a lot of people.
I was like, what?
Yeah, I follow you. Like your TikTok, and it's funny how everything works because your TikTok popping, man. You just be a life in the day of a judge, and I'm getting me and my husband getting ready to go out, and we're going to one of my favorite restaurants. And I'm like, this is so interesting. Like she's a real person.
And that's what people need to see.
Yeah.
That not only am I a real person, but this is obtainable.
It's super obtainable.
It is.
And you ain't on no, you're not, I'm not trying to crap on nobody, but you're not getting it how a lot of people who look like us get it, if that makes any sense. Like you're not falling into any categories that tends to be stereotypical or, you're not on your hot girl stuff. You know what I'm saying? Like you just being you, and that's actually super authentic, and it's more achievable, and it's more realistic.
And I think that's what people need.
Yeah.
In society, with a society full of fake things, we are, as women now, I feel like we are doing more things to make ourselves less look like who we truly are. Mm-hmm. And everything is just so, you got these filters. I put a filter on my face the other day just playing. I was like, what? Yeah. This don't even look like me.
Yeah.
And so poor guys who are looking,
Say, man. They be out there getting catfish, man.
But when you're in a world where this is acceptable and this is natural, you're yearning for honesty and transparency and just realness. And that's all I can be. And people either gonna love me or hate me. You said sometimes you misunderstood, Judge Kelly, and I am. And I'm okay with that.
You know what? You never have to convince your target audience. If I have to convince you of something, it ain't for you, right? Right. But it's interesting that you say that because those facades create a sense of, lack of appreciation of self, right? Mm-hmm. And a lot of times people don't love who they are. Mm-hmm. Like you said, you hated your name, but it's like, no, you judge Shequitta Kelly. Like,
I love his name.
People can say what they want to about you, but make sure you call me Judge first, right? But it's like, do you know how many, people from the hood, so to speak, who have ethnic names that they're ashamed of that watch you and look at you from distance like, oh, I can make it? She got a Q, U, an I, and a T?
Yes.
And I and that? Oh, is she just like me? Like, I don't think people understand, like...
the value in that.
And I want to segue a little bit because I know we just kind of rambling. This is a real conversation, but I want to talk to you about your first day in the courtroom because I followed it. You know what I'm saying? A lot of people that I know became judges around the time that you became a judge, and then several people that I know become judges since. So I love watching them progress and just, watching them evolve. But like, what was it like? First day, you walk in the courtroom, they're going to swear you in, right? You do your whole, swearing in, but like, what were those feelings like? Because you a pro now, you done been elected, twice, three times? This will be your third time, right?
Third term, yeah.
Third term, right?
Yeah.
So like, but that first day, that rookie judge, you've been a prosecutor. Now you on the bench. Like, tell me what was going through your head.
Wow. You trust me with this? That's really what I felt.
Yeah.
I felt honored. Mm. I felt honored because I had over 90,000 people vote for me.
That's a lot.
That's a lot. 90,000 people. Imagine 90,000 people standing out in the street and they're all saying, Tim, we want you.
Shoot, don't stroke my ego. I mean, hey, where y'all need me at?
But when I sat on that bench, it's up high.
Yeah.
And
it's intimidating.
Well, it's what's the best way I can phrase this? It's powerful.
Very.
Right. And I realized in that moment, I had a lot of power as a prosecutor when I was prosecuting cases, but I realized in that moment that I could completely ruin someone's life or I can completely make a success out of them. Mm. And I just was thinking, but who gets what? Like, who is the person that I pour into? Who is the person that I say, we've done all we can. You're done. Go to jail. Mm. So I sat there and I was just like, wow, 90,000 people trusted me to do this. But not only that, God trusted me with all these people who are at the lowest point in their life. Everyone who walks in that door, if they're there for a case, it's just like the worst day of their life.
It is, yeah.
And I'm the one that they get to see.
Yeah.
And what are they going to leave there feeling like? What are they going to leave there? What's going to be their experience with Judge Kelly? Are they going to leave there saying, I think I'm going to be all right because I'm going to get counseling, or because I'm going to get treated fair, or because, judge is going to make sure that I don't end up back here again? Whatever it is, what are they leaving there with? And this is my job. I know the rules of evidence. I know how to make sure people follow the law, but it's bigger than that.
Yeah.
It goes back to Dr. Maya Angelou when she says people will forget what you said, but they won't forget how you make them feel.
That's a fact.
It's so true. Because if I make you feel like you were worth something when you come in there, you're going to leave out of there with a sense of pride. And hopefully the pride is going to be so big and the worth is going to be so big that you're not going to want to come back. You're going to want to make better decisions, whether you actually committed the crime or whether you did something, dealt with someone who lied on you and put you in a situation. You made a decision that ended up with you in court 11, right? And I want you to leave there with so much self-worth that you're like, I'm not coming back. And if that means I got to cut you off because you're bad for me, or if that means I got to dig deep inside myself and get some help, I'm going to do whatever I got to do because I'm not coming back. I don't want to stand in front of that judge again, and I don't want to let her down because she made me feel like she cared. And I try to take my time on every person that comes before that bench. There's times where I'm in the middle of a plea. Sir, you understand you have a right to remit, You have a right to this, And I'm going through all, and I'll stop and put my pen down and I'll say, did you understand anything I just said? I guess so. No. This is your life. And I want you to take control of it right now. I'm a judge, yes, but this is your life, because guess what? I'm going to go home to my family. And you still left with the ball. So what don't you understand? Well, I'm sorry, Judge, I'm nervous. That's okay. We're going to take our time here. And I talk to them, not at them.
I've seen you do it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've seen you do it.
And so I don't have a lot of repeat offenders in my court.
Yeah.
Because I believe that I was placed there by God and the 90,000 people.
Yeah.
For a purpose. My church has a motto, equipping change people to change others that'll change the world. Something like that. And that's really what I'm doing. Because if I change one person who lives in that community.
In that box. There you go. Bring it back home. Look
at
that Pentecost in you. She about to give the benediction on it. Look at you. Yeah, I knew it was going to go back to that box. She finna take us to the cross. Come on, Pastor. She said, when you go back, see, on that third day, he got up. No, I'm messing with you.
I'm not messing with you. But honestly, if you bring them back, if you change them and they go back and they tell a cousin, hey man, I'm gonna start taking this class. Yeah, it's pretty easy. You should try it. Oh, I'm gonna get my GED. You ain't getting your GED. Hey man, I just took my last class. I passed my GED. For real? Yeah, this judge, she showed me where I could be making $90,000. I'm about to sign up for that. Didn't I tell him?
I talked to the old guy. He called me yesterday. We actually gonna meet Friday.
Hey, I'm giving them the nuggets, because that's really what was missing. That's really what's missing in the community.
The information. And you know what bothers me? One thing I really, really value about you and your corp is that when you get the information, you share it.
Yes.
When I reached out to you, I told you straight up, I just want to provide value.
And you have.
I'm retired. I'm good financially, but how am I going to leave this world to my children if I can't trust this world to do the right thing? So now I need to go to, for lack of better words, the lowest point where people are at the lowest point in their life and shine some light and say, hey,
there they are.
Here you are. And
that's what I said. When I got that first day and my adrenaline is going and I'm like, okay, where do I start? And there's no one there to teach you.
At all.
There's no one to say.
Do they send y'all to a judge training?
They do. You go to a judge school, but it's more so about how not to get in trouble, right? But those daily quick decisions you have to make right there on the spot. Mm-hmm. Hey, judge, my client, he missed court, and I just want to know if I can get that warrant recalled. Promise he'll be here after that. You got to make that decision right then and there. Right there.
I've seen people walk in and give y'all stuff. Judge, can you sign this for me, man?
Right then and there.
And y'all be like, what is this?
Yes.
But you have a lot of control over people's lives.
Pen, the ink in my pen.
That's crazy.
Ink in my pen. If I sign my name on something that says Tim goes to jail today and serves a month.
That's an order.
You going.
That's it. I seen you send somebody
You saw it.
But you had given them, I sat back and kind of watched, though. You had given this person a lot of chances, and they were messing up. It's like, man, you come on now.
What I always say is that I'm going to give you 100%, 101 on most days, but I'm not going to accept your 99.
That's deep.
If I'm giving you my 101, you better give me 102.
You better give me 102.
Yeah, and I say that to everyone. So I will work. I will take the time. I will stay later. I will answer your questions. I will give you the resources. I give people resources all the time.
You do.
But if you just chilling, I'm not chilling with you.
I want to. That's a good way to segue into the accountability segment, because one of the reasons I started this podcast was, one, so that we can hold each other accountable. I see that I don't believe in the culture. I'm totally against what we call the culture. I feel like the culture has failed us in every way, shape, form, or fashion. It hasn't taught us anything about economics. It teaches us to stay in a cycle. And I say all the time, I don't believe in generational curses. I believe in generational cycles, generational misinformation, because, I don't feel like I am cursed. I feel like the information that was given to me was just bad information. And now that I have new information, I need to apply it. And now I've succeeded. So it's time for me. That's how I break the chain. Like people say, Shequitta, I'm sorry, I keep saying Shequitta because I know a friend named Shequitta who spells it the exact same way. Quita, you different, you got out. But no, the truth was you wanted it. Yeah. You wanted what it was. So I want to talk about accountability, because I feel like too often people aren't accountable for the things that they're doing. And they're not accountable for their future actions, so that when things happen to them, it's like we're so quick to blame someone else. And let's not get it twisted. There is a system that was created to hurt people like you and me. Right. With that being said, what are we doing to counter that system, or to change that system, or to even create a new system? So when you have people coming into your courtroom, how do you talk to them about accountability? Like, what does that accountability conversation look like?
Well, first of all, accountability to me means disrupting old patterns.
Well, I'm going to have a whole bunch of little bars from this conversation. We finna go viral. Yeah.
You got to disrupt old patterns, and you have to disrupt comfort. A lot of times, we don't take accountability, because if we take accountability, that means we got to do something.
It's uncomfortable.
And it's uncomfortable.
Yeah. We
got to make change. And change is always uncomfortable.
Always.
Man, I don't even like change. I don't like change at all.
You don't?
Woo!
You strike me as a person that's okay with shifting markets and shifting changes.
I will do it what's necessary to remain accountable and to remain successful and grow. But I don't like it.
I cannot sit still. Like, I cannot sit in the same place. I have to have change.
I love consistency.
Yeah.
I love consistency.
So let me backtrack that a little bit. I'm gonna do the same thing, but I like to do it in different environments, if that makes any sense. Like, I like to move around because I value the experience. Like, I love the fact, like, traveling. I love to travel.
Me too.
So like, when you said you was in Seattle, I'm like, that's one of my favorite cities. Like, I believe in going to different places. I'm still me in those places. Yeah. But I want to see how they do it over there, because they may have a way that I never knew that works. If that makes any sense.
Yeah, you like exposure. You like trying new things
all the time.
You like education.
I teach my son that. I say try, like with food. I say eat everything at least once. Just try it. Like, and he has such a wide palate.
That's good.
Because I've taught him that at a young age. Like, just try it. Don't just eat chicken nuggets and fries all the damn time. Try some of this. Try this kebab. Yeah.
But I tell my people in my court, getting back to your question about accountability, is that at the end of the day, only you get to determine your destination. It's just you. And so you can ruin it, or you can go after all your dreams. And you're here in my court for a reason. You could have landed in any other of the 12 courts. You landed here. And I'm going to hold you accountable. Yeah. Meaning, when I say you got to be at court on such day, at such time, you need to beat me there. And when you don't do what you're supposed to do to help yourself grow, there'll be consequences. There's always consequences in life for your decision, but you get to choose. And I'm going to tell you how I'm going to respond ahead of time. So when you make that choice,
this is what's going to happen.
This is what's going to happen.
That's deep. You already know the consequences, right? Know. That's how I am. And then people say that I'm too transparent, but it's like, no. I don't want there to be any surprises.
No surprises. I want you to know, because that's another thing. Again, it goes back to knowledge.
Yeah.
When you know better, you do better.
That's a fact.
And so that's why you see my people in my program coming. They there.
Yeah.
They there. They ready. Right. And then, but if I feel like you're not going to be accountable and you want to stay in that cycle, you want to stay in that square, you want to stay in that mindset, I can't help you. However, what I do is I show them the benefits of accountability.
That's deep.
And so they want to be accountable because they get to see right in front of them, oh, so when I do this, I get a certificate. It shows that I accomplished something, because a lot of people, believe it or not, haven't accomplished a lot.
That's real.
They haven't. So I had a young woman in my class in my court, my intercepted class, who had never gotten her GED. And she came in, she was pregnant, young girl, I think she might have been like 21, and she had an attitude. And she was like, I said, why didn't you show up to court yesterday? I told you to come to court. She said, I didn't feel like it. And I said, maybe you didn't understand me. Let me try this.
He said, I know you didn't. I know you didn't just say you didn't feel like it.
Yeah, that's what she said. And I said, why didn't you come to court when I told you to come to court? She says, I just told you because I didn't feel like it. And I said, okay, I'm processing, right? Instead of just flying off the handle, I'm processing. And I said, were you sick? No. I said, I didn't feel like it. And I said, well, why did you feel like coming here today? Because I just did. I said, okay. Mike, you can take her. And she said, take me where? I said, he's going to take you to jail. You have a warrant out. Well, can't you just get rid of the warrant? I don't feel like it.
Ooh.
And I got up and walked away.
Yeah.
And she said, I'm pregnant. I said, I clearly see that.
Yeah.
I said, they can take you to the hospital from jail if you go into labor. It was tough.
Yeah.
Right? So I'm telling you this because I want you to see how tough I was on her. And she started mumbling and cussing under her breath or whatever. I'm pregnant and da-da-da-da. Yeah. And he took her. I left her in there for 3 days. Brought her back. I said, so, tell me why you didn't come to court. And she said, I overslept. I said, is it because you're pregnant? Yes, and I was sick. I said, this is what I want you to do. I'm going to let you out. You need to get a GED because you right now don't have a job or a GED and you're going to have a kid. Mm-hmm. Fast forward, she got her GED. Yeah. It took her a while. But when I tell you, I'm sitting in court, I'm writing, and all of a sudden the doors swing open, and she's like, Judge Kelly! She's running into the courtroom. My bailiff stands up, grabs his gun. It's like, what
your
the heck?
Hey, listen, your bailiff don't play.
He's like, what's going on? And she says, I got it! And tears are streaming from her eyes. It was her GED. Yeah. It was the first level of success she had ever received.
That's good.
And she told me, it's because you put me in jail. And we all started laughing. Yeah. She was serious. She said, it's because you put me with a smile. Yeah. It's because you put me in jail. And I said, what? Yeah. And she said, yeah. She said, it made me never want to go back. And she says, and now I'm about to go get my associates.
Really? That's the accountability, huh?
It's the accountability.
You know, and it's like, that was a deep story. I feel like as Black people, you know, we already have our perceptions of the criminal justice system based on where we come from. And I feel like that Black people within the criminal justice system, we tend to give them a bad rap, or we tend to have these unrealistic expectations of them based on what they do and what we feel like they should do. But again, it's still accountability that comes within that system, regardless if you're standing in front of a Black person, a white person, whoever. I personally would rather go to the court if it's somebody that's familiar or looks like me, because I feel like they will at least show me. But that's not the case all the time. Sometimes the Black judges, they super hard. Yeah. But, you know, Judge, it's good to see someone in that position who genuinely cares about everyone who stands in front of them. Like, you genuinely care. It's like you can tell, you talk to them kind of like, I want to say a mama, but like an aunt, a favorite aunt. You know, that one aunt that you'll tell everything to?
Yes.
I've seen you deal with them, with people, like, no matter who they are, their background, on that level, like, what's going on? And a lot of people don't realize that position, you need empathy.
Yes,
you have to put yourself in their shoes. It's so
important. It is so important. And, you know, I always tell my bailiff, is like my sidekick over there. I always tell him, I identify in a lot of them.
Yeah.
I was poor. I was judged when I was a pregnant mom. I mean, people thought I was they called me whores. I remember my bus driver was like, well, if you wouldn't be such a whore. She said that to a 15-year-old. You know what that did to my worth, my self-worth? You know how low I felt?
Really?
Yes. And when my teachers are telling me, well, no, you got a kid now, you can't be a lawyer. That's funny. What do you mean a lawyer? That just beat down on me. And I felt like I really couldn't do what I wanted to do.
That's crazy. I
felt like being a lawyer was really a joke now that I had this baby. And so I've been there where the judgment is excruciating and it closes in on you. And you really do feel like nothing. And that is what a lot of them feel like when they walk into my courtroom, like I don't understand. Before I open my mouth, they feel like no one understands. They don't have a job. Their family isn't supporting them. They feel like nothing. And a lot of times the reason why they're in that situation is because they don't feel the self-worth. When they feel that self-worth, they're like, no, shoot, my life ain't worth. I'm not going to jail for you. See, people try me all the time. But I guarantee you, I'm not going to jail.
Trying you is the first mistake, huh?
I'm not going to jail. I'm not about to be ruining. I got too much at stake for that.
Yeah.
And so I really do try to have the empathy because I see and I know what it feels like to be at the bottom.
That's real. That's real. We're gonna wrap it up on this note because I'll sit here and talk to you for another hour because you have so much information and knowledge. So
I'm gonna have to come back. We
didn't even
talk about the programs.
We haven't talked. Let's talk about. We got to come. Let's talk about the program. So tell us about your program that you have in your court.
So Intercepted, the one that you spoke at several times, and hopefully we can get you back, like, because you're phenomenal.
Thank you.
Right? Shout out. He is phenomenal. You change their lives in what you say and the information that you're giving them. But the Intercepted is just a program where I take young offenders under the age of 21, first-time offenders who have been arrested for assault, family violence cases, and I load them with, basically the program is built off of self-worth. Like self-worth. It really is.
I love the way that you make them, like at the beginning of each session, they have to tell you like their song, their two favorite songs and how it relates to them. You make them read the lyrics.
Yes.
But what it's doing is it's preparing them to be able to speak up for themselves.
Absolutely. Because a lot of times they don't. They don't feel like they're worthy to speak up. Their voice doesn't matter. That's how they feel.
Yeah.
And so I want you to start getting comfortable. If you can be comfortable with talking to your judge.
You talk to anybody.
A judge, you can talk to anybody. A criminal judge, then you can walk out there. You can tell somebody, no, I didn't do that. No, that's not right. No, I need my paycheck. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, but a lot of times when you've been beat down for so long, or you're in an environment where people don't speak up, you don't know how to defend yourself without being violent.
That's
or
real.
Without being, whether it's verbally violent or physically violent or whatever it is. You don't know.
Well, then we also teach punishment in our communities. You know, like if you come at me the wrong way, I gotta punish you.
Yeah.
And you don't have to pay the consequences. And I literally was writing this morning. I'm helping a gentleman in prison write his book. And so I was writing some notes down based off of what I read in his book. And I was saying, let's talk about the importance of not feeling the need to punish people.
Right.
Because in the hood, it's like, you cross me, I'm gonna beat your butt or I'm gonna kill you, right? Or somebody treats you wrong, you have to get back. Like, you don't have to get your lick back every single time.
It all comes from a place, the ego. It's the ego.
I stopped getting my lick back, Judge.
And that's, because really you're not getting your lick back.
Nah,
it's coming.
It's trust me,
yes.
I know. But it's like a lot of times, like even now when we're driving, like there's so much road rage going on in our city.
Yes.
And me and my wife, my mother and sister, we were talking about it. If somebody cuts you off, somebody do something, do not blow, do not flash your lights, let them go, slow down. Like, there's no point even going back and forth with people now because they'll kill you.
Yeah,
they'll kill you behind this stuff.
Yeah, I saw it this morning. I was like, this is about to be bad. There's two
Have you
cars.
seen it?
Yes, it's bad. It's bad. And then it's like, it's not even worth it. And I tell I break down, like you said, with your son, to my intercepted offenders. I say, walk me through. Mm-hmm. Like, what were you thinking? And a lot of times they can't. They'll just say, I see what you're saying, Judge. It was stupid. It was stupid.
But that's accountability.
It's accountability. And it's uncomfortable. But then you've been in this uncomfortable place and you don't want to go back to that. So you move forward.
Yeah.
You're making better decisions. And that's how it builds on making good decisions. And all of the things that I put before them is to serve them. It does not serve me at all. It's serving them. I guess it serves me in the sense that when I see them succeed, because I have so many success stories from Intercepted,
you do.
I'm just like, wow, I did that just by pouring into them.
And you still have to be a judge. You still have to be the judge.
Oh, yeah. That's why you see me throw one of them in jail.
Yeah. I feel bad for her. You know what I'm saying? But you're more of a mentor, too. Your other program is a mentorship that you have with 4 other judges, 3 other judges. Talk about that one.
So the Pipeline of Possibilities is a program. We're trying to stop people from entering the criminal justice system. Yeah. So we go to the schools, high schools, DISD high schools, and we educate them about the criminal justice system from arrest all the way to jury trial. We let them serve as the jury. We put real lawyers in front of them. Then they learn like life skills. The boys learn how to tie a tie. We let the women talk to a gynecologist and ask any questions they want. We put them in an environment where they can learn from entrepreneurs, about fraternities, sororities, about if you want to be a social media influencer, does that look as good as what you think it looks like? Like, we put all that stuff out in front of them. And that's when I was thinking about adding your piece, a financial piece too, so they can learn about stuff like that.
You know I'm here. Yeah. Just let me know. I'll be there. I love that program because one thing I noticed about it is when you go to one school, it's like the other school's like, wait a minute, you got to come back over here now. Mm-hmm. And now it's creating a competition amongst the kids who want you there. And they get to see someone who looks like them from where they're from, who's doing some pretty dope things. So kudos to you.
Thank you.
And the other judges. Well, listen, I ask the same question to everyone. And this is how I typically conclude my show. One of my favorite movies is Back to the Future 2. Okay, when they go back to the future and go to the forward, and there's a part where Biff goes back and sees himself as a kid. He gives him an almanac that has all the sports scores, and he says, look, take this book, thank me later. He goes back to the future, now he's like a trillionaire because young Biff bet on all the games and he knew the outcome. And I always say, if you could go back to 18-year-old you, and just you're walking down the hall, it's just the two of y'all catch eyes. She look like, wait a minute, I know you from somewhere. You're like, yeah, you do. Like, what's the advice that you would give 18-year-old you? Because you've accomplished a lot, but I'm sure there's some advice you would give to 18-year-old you.
Yeah. Whew. I would say believe in yourself. That's one thing, because I doubted myself for a very long time. And so I would say believe in yourself, and people do what's important to them. And I would say that because...
Dive into that, please. Dive into that.
You will do what's most important to you. But not only that, people around you will do what's important to them.
That's a fact.
And sometimes that's not you. That means you got to navigate around that, right? People will show you what's important to them. And so you have to remember that. And I think that helps limit heartache, heartbreak, frustration. Because when you see someone and you operate off of we're all doing what's important to us. Yeah. And that person's not making time to help you, or that person's not responding, or whatever. That I'm sorry, you're just not important. And if I had learned that at 18, I would have had a lot less heartbreak and heartache and frustrations, because I would have said, that's fine. I'm going to do what's important to me and keep moving. There's a lot in that. We don't have time for me to unpack all that, but basically... Well,
you went to church on them boys. Like, dang, you went to church with that one. I just learned that at 35. Like, within the past 4 years, like, stop expecting you from other people. People are going to do exactly what they want to do. And I had to look at my own life and say, shit, I did what I wanted to do.
Right.
We're going to make time, energy, and effort for the things that we feel like is worth our time, energy, and effort.
Yep.
That's why people be in them streets. That's why they be hanging on to bad relationships.
That's what's important to them in that moment.
That's what's important to them in that moment. And then you look back and you say, I wish I would have. But if somebody would have beat that into my head at a younger age, like, one, stop expecting you from other people. Like, that's the main thing.
I like that.
Stop expecting you from other people.
Yeah.
I used to take it so personal when I would give so much of myself to people and they wouldn't really give a fuck, for lack of better words. And now it's like, I understand, like, people they make time for the things they want to make time. It's nothing personal.
And I want to add on to that. This is one I teach my daughter. I just drill into her since she was a little kid, is you have to teach people how to treat you.
That's a fact.
And if you don't expect to have successful relationships on any level, because people are only going to do what they know that they think is best. But when you meet someone, you're meeting them for the first time. So you have to make sure you teach them how to treat you. And that might be uncomfortable.
There's no robbery in a fair exchange. I tell people that.
Yeah.
So if I meet you, if there's a fair exchange, we know what's going on, right?
Yes.
And it's like, I set my boundaries right up front, like, hey, these are the expectations.
Yes.
And if you can't follow those, if that's uncomfortable for you, that's okay.
It's okay. There's no problem.
There's somebody else that will, or there's another business that can accommodate me. But it's like we go into it expecting people to think like us. And so they'll understand it. They'll get it. No.
And that leads to confrontation. That leads to conflict. That leads to misunderstandings. That leads to broken relationships.
You do.
So teach them up front. So,
man, listen, these conversations are getting deeper and deeper. Judge, well, it's Quita now.
Not for y'all. No.
Not for y'all. Hey, listen, don't walk up into her court, Quita, I didn't come. No, it's Judge to y'all. But in all seriousness, where can we find you?
So, I'm on TikTok at Judge Shequitta Kelly. I'm on all social media platforms as Judge Shequitta Kelly. My website, by the way, I don't know when we're going to see this, right?
In the next couple of weeks.
Okay, I have a scholarship for high school students that are going to either trade school or to college, and I'm giving out 2. Deadline is the end of April. So go to www.shequittakelly.com, click the STK Scholarship tab, and apply. I'm on Instagram, TikTok, and Facebook as Judge Shequitta Kelly.
That's the beautiful thing about being named Shequitta Kelly. No one else has that name.
Yeah, but they also don't know how to spell it. Let me spell it for you. SHEQUITTA.
I know it's Shequitta, and she spells it just like you. So I was calling you Shequitta for years. Well, listen, you all. One, I want to thank you so much for coming today. You know, I was like, I really want to get her on the podcast. And I was like, I'm just going to ask her. If she say no, she going to say no. But I think after we talked the last time, I was like, yeah, she's definitely coming on the podcast. You're so down to earth, so realistic, you know. I think everyone needs to know who you are.
Thank you.
Specifically, little boys and little girls who are growing up in situations where they feel like they have to be in this box. They need to see more people like you who come from the box, but who learn how to step out of the box. You know, very inspirational person. Ever since I've been following your career, I'm proud of you. I will continue to support you. Keep doing your thing. I got to meet you and your husband. My wife need to grab dinner.
Absolutely.
Like, we seriously need to grab dinner sometime soon because I haven't met him yet. I feel like I know him because I've seen him on your social media.
Yeah.
I'm like, he's showing out. That story of y'all on that island when y'all showed my wife, I'm like, babe, they got stranded. Like, she was like, what? You know what I'm saying? Like, I feel like I know y'all. You know what I'm saying? But thank you so much for coming. It's been a pleasure having you here. Always a great conversation with you, and I'm going to have to bring you back again, okay?
Absolutely. Thanks for having me, Tim.
Well, listen, you guys, this is the No More OGs podcast. Do me a favor, like, follow, subscribe, share, turn on your notifications so you can see us first. I'll have everything you need to follow Judge Kelly. Be sure to stay tapped in, you all. If there's any subjects or any topics that you want to discuss, don't be too shy. Just inbox me, and I'll bring on that person. But that's all I got for you today. I'll talk to you soon.